obviously, when we talk about this quite a bit, Congress reasserting its role in democratizing foreign policy and specifically reining in endless global war making. I really like the point that we were talking about on TMBS the other night, that this notion of like World War III is this very melodramatic, terrifying, almost kind of mind thrill-seeking apocalypse scenario. And look, I don't certainly, as we transition into a G2 world, the United States and China, and there's a greater resource conflict, yes, there's a lot of dangers. But that type of scenario is still relatively unlikely. We could, if we thought about it a little bit more in a little bit more of a disciplined way, we have been in the form of World War III, at least since the Bush administration invaded Afghanistan and implemented the whole range of policies on the so-called war on terror. We have drones active across the globe. We from Africa, South Asia, the Middle East. We have radically militarized the war on drugs in Mexico, as an example, just as we did in Colombia, in fact. So this, Congress getting back in control of this process, yes, first and foremost, is to stop the catastrophic emergency of greater Trump administration escalating against Iran, but it's also about a completely unaccountable bureaucracy that encompasses defense, intelligence, the executive branch, and a whole global framework of war making, which kills a lot of innocent people across the globe and has obviously not made anybody safer. Of course, it makes defense contractors a huge amount of money. Of course, it employs a lot of people. Of course, it can muscle our way into certain vital natural resources. The real aims of these policies can be satisfied. But if we're thinking in democratic, humanitarian, and sustainability terms, we need to get that in order immediately. Now, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, looking as happy as ever, disagrees with that viewpoint, and she sat down with the ever-brilliant brain trust at Fox and Friends to break it down.
Go ahead.
Sarah, the president said yesterday the U.S. is ready to embrace peace. He's calling for more economic sanctions on Iran's already struggling economy. He did say that Iran is standing down. So why is the House putting up this resolution to try to limit the president's powers?
I can't think of anything dumber than allowing Congress to take over our foreign policy. They can't seem to manage to get much of anything done. I think the last thing we want to do is push powers into Congress's hands and take them away from the president. Any Democrat that doesn't understand that America is safer now that one of the most dangerous terrorists in the world is rotting in hell is completely naive and completely misses what we need to have in a foreign policy. And the last thing I want to do is see them take power away from President Trump and put it into their own hands. I don't think anything could be worse for America.
Okay, I mean, first and foremost, obviously, that's pure authoritarianism. I have never, that is pure authoritarianism. Usually I remember back in the day when, flag waving, rah, rah, rah Republicans pretended to respect the Constitution. This is purely unconstitutional. And you are seeing at least some rhetorical. I'm never going to give people like Mike Lee or Rand Paul credit until they actually vote on some of these things. But you're seeing the rhetorical indications. And Rand Paul did vote against the 2017 Iran sanctions along with Bernie Sanders, which was really shaping up to be maybe the most important international vote that you could cast in the last couple of years. And everybody voted in the Senate voted the wrong way besides Sanders and Paul. Most Americans actually disagree with this, stunning stupidity and authoritarianism you just saw there. This is a new poll from USA Today and Ipsos. And the takeaways are that 28% of Americans say much less safe, 27% say somewhat less safe, 21% don't know, 15% say much more safe, and 9% say 25% say somewhat more safe, 9% say much more safe. 42% supported the assassination of Soleimani, 33% opposed it, and 25% say they don't know what to think. Obviously, of course, Republicans were much more supportive than Democrats, and independents were almost evenly split. And, those numbers relative to somebody who grew up, or not didn't grow up, but was, young and saw like the pure bloodlust and cult-like alignment under the Bush administration and the so-called war on terrorism, Afghanistan, and then, of course, just the relentless lie and propaganda campaign before the invasion of Iraq. That's somewhat encouraging. At the same time, I think what's holding us back here is basically Trump's anxiety about actually getting in deeper. And I think clearly you have a Republican base. I think there's some people on the margins that genuinely would like to step back from interventionism. But I think most of these, most of the people who think Trump is just great are just, again, they're in that mindset she just expressed right there. Authoritarian. So we'll see how things progress. Iran obviously engaged in a proportional response, and that was, according to Pepe Escobar's reporting, there was even some type of a back channel through Qatar basically saying, can we, pre-agree on something like that? And again, just objectively, watch as Iran continues to be the, relatively speaking, responsible party here. It is what it is.
It's weird when a Huckabee challenges you to think of anything dumber than anything else.
I like that. You waited in the cut for that one. That was good.